Did we start? All right.
Yeah.
Before we get going on this week's reading, which is the Hell is the Land of Tranquil Light, on page 456 of volume 1 of the Writings of Nietzsche and Daishonin. Last time we were together, which thanks to the typhoon was 2 weeks ago,
Yes.
if you go into that video at the 41:40 mark, you will see me mention something that I now need to clarify. Okay? Because as we know, as I speak, quite often I'm rifting along. You know, I've never gone, sometimes I do misspeak. I didn't misspeak in this regard, but I want to clarify what I said, because what I said you've never heard before. Okay, I mentioned something called there's a theoretical Nam-myoho Renge-kyo too, I said. And nobody raised an eyebrow. I think you all knew what I was talking about, but for the sake of making sure, since this is videoed, I need to clarify. Frankly speaking, technically, there is no such thing as theoretical Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. A little ripple went through me the first time I heard that when I watched the video afterwards. But there is a parallel concept to what I was trying to convey, because that is what I was trying to convey. And what I was trying to convey is that there is only actual Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, right? But Nam-myoho Renge-kyo's whole premise is based on the power of what part of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is the most important part of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo? Myo. Right. Now, so what I was referring to is that, because that's the essence of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is Myo, okay? So the point that I was trying to make was the difference between theoretical and actual as it relates to Buddhism and all things, okay? Because anything that's spoken of or observed or made a comment on that's not acted upon is still theoretical. Do you understand what I'm saying? Something that can take you only from a theoretical construct and not take you to an actual real reality is theoretical, okay? So when we talk about Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, do you understand that there's two kinds of myo in Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, right? There's two kinds of myo. What are the two kinds of myo? There are two kinds of myo. There's comparative myo and there's absolute myo. There's relative myo or comparative myo, and there's absolute myo. Okay, so what's the difference between the two? One is for the purpose of conversationally engaging in a comparison for the sake of establishing the superiority of the teaching of Nietzsche and Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. That's relative myo or comparative myo. You're comparing myo to other things, okay? But myo itself is what? What is the truth of myo?
It's a law.
Revive?
There's, yes, but not that specifically. What is the truth of myo? What is myo? What is this mystic? Myo is the mystic principle.
Right.
Of what? True reality. Of life, right. So myo is actually all things. So since it's all things, it's even those things that you're comparing relative myo to. Do you understand? Do you understand the concept that I'm trying to make clear here? There's a function that we need to have for the sake of conversation, and then there's the truth of the reality in which something exists.
It's beyond understanding.
It's beyond understanding. This is what we're trying to get close to. Understanding. Why is it beyond understanding? Because it includes everything, even the things that seem to be in opposition to it. There is no separation between good and evil, right?
Yeah.
If I go to wherever this was, it was non-duality somewhere here. I've got it in the other dictionary here. Hang on. At any rate, non-duality of good and evil, non-duality of cause and effect is simultaneous, right? It's not cause and effect. But when I talk about making causes, it would seem like I'm saying something that's separate from cause and effect being mutual and simultaneous and never existing apart from one another, right? And effects the same way. So that's what I was trying to clarify from me saying theoretical Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. I'm going to read myo, the definition of myo, so that you guys understand exactly what I'm saying. I don't want any confusion on this. Myo on page 417. Myo, wonderful, mystic, without peer, or beyond conception. All right, that pretty much says it all. This term is described the Buddhist law, which is wonderful and beyond ordinary understanding. So the true understanding of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo is a very profound thing. It can be spoken of and explained, but a true understanding is expressed with one's life. It's not expressed with words. Do you understand? It's that action that creates absolute. In the profound meanings of the Lotus Sutra, Tentai interprets the word myo, wonderful, of the title Myoho Renge-kyo, or Lotus Sutra of the Wonderful Law, from two perspectives to show the profundity of the sutra. The first is relative myo, also referred to as the comparative myo. The relative myo means that the Lotus Sutra is wonderful or mystic because, when compared with all other teachings, it is superior. Myo does not merely mean that the Lotus Sutra is superior to all other teachings, however. Hence, the second interpretation, the absolute myo. This means that the Lotus Sutra cannot be compared with any other teaching because it encompasses and integrates all other teachings. No teaching exists outside it, and thus none can be called superior or inferior to it. Do you guys grasp what this concept is about that? Okay, so from this viewpoint, all teachings, when based on the Lotus Sutra, express various aspects of the ultimate truth. Nichiren interpreted myo as referring to Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, which he deemed the essence of the Lotus Sutra. So if he's interpreting myo as Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, is he interpreting that myo as relative or absolute? Absolute. Okay, so absolute myo is Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. So I was incorrect in saying there's such a thing as theoretical Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. Do you understand? That's why I needed to make this clarification. Nichiren interpreted myo as referring to Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, which he deemed as the essence of the Lotus Sutra. So myo is in essence the essence of the entire sutra. In the Daimoku of the Lotus Sutra, the Gosho we've all read, he explains three meanings of the character myo. Catherine, very good. To open, to be fully endowed, and to revive. To open means to open up the darkness of illusion and reveal the Buddha nature. And how is that accomplished?
Pardon?
Again, he says in the Daimoku Lotus Sutra that there are three meanings to the character myo. To open, to be fully endowed, and to revive. To open means to open up the darkness of illusion and reveal the Buddha nature. Okay? To be fully endowed means to possess all 10 worlds and 3,000 realms while permeating and integrating the whole of the phenomenal world. It can also mean possessing the practices and resulting virtues of all Buddhas. Could that possibly be anything other than absolute myo? No. That's what I'm trying to express to you. When he talks about myo as it relates to these teachings, he's talking about the truth and the reality of myo being all things. He's talking about the mystic essence of the Lotus Sutra being myo. He's talking about the mystic essence of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo being myo. He's not talking about a separate thing now being compared to the theoretical teaching and the essential teaching. Do you understand? He's talking about the truth. You have to be able to discern that. So he's saying, pardon me. To open means to open up the darkness of illusion and reveal the Buddha nature. To be fully endowed means to possess all 10 worlds and the 3,000 realms permeating and integrating the whole of the phenomenal world. It can also mean possessing the practices and resulting virtues of all Buddhas. To revive means enabling one to attain Buddhahood. For example, women, evil men, and those of the two vehicles who were denied the possibility of enlightenment in the provisional teachings can all attain Buddhahood through the Daimoku of the Lotus Sutra. To revive also means that all the teachings and doctrines, when based on the mystic law, assume their correct perspective and fulfill their intrinsic purpose. Okay? So that's to clarify what I was trying to say last week. And I was going to get into a further clarification of the 3,000 realms of the mutual possession of the 10 worlds. I won't do that right now. I'll go ahead and start reading the Gosho. Okay, this is a very deep Gosho, and it has a lot of other terms that I wanted to go into before I started reading it. This maybe it's best that I go along. But when we talk, one last thing that I want to get out, when we talk about the ninth consciousness or the 9 consciousnesses, does everyone understand and remember what that pertains to? Okay, you're shaking your head, yes, George. What does that pertain to?
It's like
The 9th consciousness is the Buddhahood itself.
Right. What are the previous 8? Actually, this is the construct of consciousness as it actually exists. Right? Consciousness begins with life. All right? And so what constitutes life? Form.
Yeah.
Okay? The temporary gathering of the 5 components, right? Okay, so when we talk about that consciousness that exists within life, it starts with what?
All the senses.
Exactly. That's what comes with form, is all the senses, right? So our eyes, our ears, our nose, our mouth, and then our touch. Okay, right? So those are the first 5. What's 6? The mind that integrates those 5 into discernible things that we can, utilize, right? Okay, and then there's a 7th. Does anybody know what the 7th is without me looking at it?
Avaya or...
That's the last one. No, the next one is Mano.
Yeah.
The Mano consciousness is the 6th. Hang on, let me just go into the 9 consciousness. Yeah. Mano, then Alea. No, Nano, then Amalo, then Alea. So it's good. The 9 consciousnesses.
Amalo should be the last one.
Mano should be the last one? No.
You remember Amalo is the last one?
No, Alea is the last one.
Oh, okay.
Mano is 6. Mano is actually replicated twice. Mano is the one that's also the mind viewing external things. Okay, I got stung by a bee.
Yep.
Mano is also the internal thinking of self, of ego, of separation. Right? Amala is where the karma storage karma storage occurs. Alea is life essence itself, unobstructed by karmic impediments. Well, that Aishana referred to as Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. But let me read that again. 9 kinds of discernment. Consciousness is a process of discernment, right? Okay? So, 9 kinds of discernment. Consciousness is the translation of the Sanskrit Vijnana, which means discernment. The 9 consciousness are the sight consciousness, 2, the hearing consciousness, 3, the smell consciousness, 4, the taste consciousness. I'm not saying the Sanskrit. 5, the touch consciousness. 6, the mind consciousness, which is Mano. 7 is also Mano. Okay? Yeah. 6 and 7 are both called the same thing. Because one pertains to observation of the phenomenal realm and the other one to the spiritual. Okay, the mind. Your mind can conceive of the things around you in the environment. It can also conceive of the things that are internalized into the form of perceiving oneself as an entity, as a being, right? Okay, but you don't have a clue about why am I that way, right? Okay, so then he says, then the 8th is the Alea. And pardon me, the 7th is the Mano, the 8th is the Alea, and pardon me, the 9th is the Amala. Pardon me. Okay, so the first 5 consciousnesses correspond to the 5 senses of sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. The 6th consciousness integrates the perceptions of the 5 senses into the coherent images and makes judgments about the external world. In contrast with the first 6 consciousnesses, which deal with the external world, the 7th, or Mano consciousness, corresponds to the inner spiritual world. Awareness of and attachment to the self are said to originate from the Mano consciousness, as does the ability to distinguish between good and bad. The 8th, or Alea consciousness, exists in what modern psychology calls the unconsciousness all experiences of past, present, and previous lifetimes, collectively called karma, are stored there. That's just karma storage. And then the alaya consciousness receives the results of the one's good and evil deeds and stores them as karmic potentials or seeds, which then produce the rewards of either happiness or suffering accordingly. Hence, it was rendered as a storehouse consciousness in Chinese. The alaya consciousness thus forms the framework of the individual existence. The Dharma characteristics school and the summary of the Mahayana, the Shoran school, the Tentai school, and the Flower Garland school also postulate a ninth consciousness called the Amala consciousness, which lies below the alaya consciousness and remains free from all karmic impurity. This ninth consciousness is defined as the basis of all of life's functions. Okay, so if it's the basis of all of life's functions, what is also the basis of all of life's functions? Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Okay, right? That's the whole point. The original state means the original state. The original building block of everything is the law of causality. Everything that is results from the law of causality, right? That law precedes the manifestation of anything that's the result of it. Do you understand? Without the law, the result can't occur. One cannot precede the other. Do you understand? All right, so you say, hence it was rendered as the fundamental pure consciousness in Chinese, and that's what the Daishonin refers to as the ninth consciousness is Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. So now, reading the Gosho itself, going to page 456 of the land of, the hell is the land of tranquil light. This was written to Nanjo Tokumitsu's mother. I'll read the background first. Background. In the 5th month of the 11th year of Brunei, Nichiren Daishonin left Kamakura and went to live in a small dwelling at the foot of Mount Minobu. In the 7th month, the Daishonin wrote this letter to the wife of Nanjo Hyoei Shichiro, or Ueno. She was the mother of Nanjo Tokumitsu, who had succeeded his husband as steward of Ueno in Suruga province. She had raised 9 children after her husband's death in 1265 and was a devoted mother and a sincere follower of the Daishonin. On this occasion, she had sent the Daishonin various offerings to commemorate the 10th anniversary of her husband's death. This letter expresses the Daishonin's appreciation for her thoughtfulness and devotion. Okay? Would seem like it's not that big of a deal of a letter, but it is. Okay? So, I'll start reading it. Okay. All right, does everybody understand the significance of Nanjo Tokumitsu's mom and who her husband had been? Who Nanjo Shochiro, Hyoei Shichiro. Okay, Hyoei Shichiro was an earlier practitioner and follower of Nichiren, who was the Lord of Ueno. We always think of the Lord of Ueno as Nanjo Tokumitsu, his son, but the original Lord of Ueno, who was a disciple of the Daishonin in the early part of his teaching, was Nanjo's dad. Okay? So Nanjo's dad was obviously a very deep guy, because the Daishonin refers to him as someone in this and other places, as someone I really felt I could just chat with, I could talk to. He was a deep and capable disciple who did understand the Daishonin's teachings and held on with a lifelong faith up even to the moment of his death, and the fact that he did die even though he was practicing, leaving a widow, leaving many children. Okay? And Nanjo was the second oldest son. In reality, would Nanjo have then become the head of the household as the second oldest son? No. Subsequent to the father's death, the oldest son also passed away. Okay? And while at the point of the father's death, the mother was pregnant with the last of all these children, okay, who was also born as a boy, was a great kid, and he died when he was 15 years old. Okay, so she had to persevere through a lot of things that were difficult to understand as it relates to circumstances surrounding someone that should be receiving what we might consider karmic reward. And her biggest concern is not only her concern about the ability to achieve Buddhahood and for women, okay, because we've already read other references to this same person that we're reading again now. We've already read in this series of Goshos we've been reading, another of the Goshos was to Nanja Tokimitsu's mother. Okay, so I'll start now. He says, I have received your, on page 456, I have received your offerings of various articles. Nothing would please me more. By the way, this was sent on the 10th anniversary of his death. Nothing would please me more than to know that you have communicated with the late Ueno. But I know that that is impossible. Unless it was in a dream, it is unlikely that you have seen him. Unless it was an illusion, how could you have seen him? Surely your late husband, this person he's talking about is dead, surely your late husband is in the pure land of Eagle Peak, listening and watching over the Sahe world, day and night. You, his wife, and your children have only mortal senses, so you cannot see or hear him. But be assured that you will eventually be reunited on Eagle Peak. Okay, so no, when he mentions Eagle Peak, and these are the kinds of things I'm going to have to break into time and again here. When he's saying now, when you're going to meet him on Eagle Peak, you can, but be assured you will eventually be reunited on Eagle Peak. Surely your late husband is in the pure land of Eagle Peak. What is Eagle Peak? Where is Eagle Peak? Is Eagle Peak heaven?
No.
Is Eagle Peak Buddha land?
No.
Where is Eagle Peak? What is Eagle Peak? When we read this over and over again, when I say Eagle Peak, what does it mean to you when I say you're going to all meet in Eagle Peak? When the promise is given there to people that are facing the loss of loved ones and the truth of dependent origination is stated as, don't worry, you will all be reunited at Eagle Peak. What is that really an expression of the concept of to lay people that wouldn't understand it otherwise? I'm explaining it to you in the truth of what it means. Taken literally, it means it's a place you go when you die and everybody commiserates about, oh, we're all reunited. Well, what happens when it's time to be reborn? Is it like, well, I'll go now, you come in a little while. Oh, you're my children, you're going to have to stay up here. I mean, how does that work? What is Eagle Peak? Where is Eagle Peak? You've heard this a million times. Did you never query in your mind what the hell they're talking about? Where are they talking about? What are they talking about? What is Eagle Peak? Eagle Peak, first of all, is a physical place. Do you all know that?
Yeah, it's in the...
Where is it?
India.
It's in India. What's the significance of Eagle Peak? It's where he preached the Lotus Sutra.
Yeah.
Okay, so is everybody going to be reunited where in India?
No.
Okay, so is he saying that? No. Right? So what is he really talking about when he talks about this? Because otherwise confusion can be sown into what is literally read from the Gosho versus what the truth of the teaching of Nichiren is. Eagle Peak is Buddhahood. Okay, what happens to us according to the philosophy of Nichiren when we die?
We go back.
Do we go to heaven?
No,
Really?
we go back to the original state.
Okay, and what is the original state?
Universe.
Yes, but what is? But when you get into the universe on that basis, where in the universe? The answer to that is everywhere in the universe.
Everywhere.
Okay, because it's the state of non-sustain. When we talk about
Lucy.
Lucy,
Yeah, the movie.
okay. When we talk about threefold contemplation in a single mind, okay, or what you're supposed to be grasping from the truth of non-substantiality, temporary existence in the middle way, right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so what is non-substantiality? When we talk about the concept of temporary existence, we all understand is this moment, right?
Yeah.
Okay, we already understand that the middle way is the fact that it's neither temporary existence nor non-substantiality. It's a little bit of both. So, but what is the state of non-substantiality then? is no place. It is neither existence nor non-existence.
It's original.
It's the original state, which is not a state of form.
No?
No, it's not place.
It's like soup.
It's like you're there. You're there, but you're not there. Again, the potentiality of, again, this is a very difficult concept to perceive, but understand, it's not nothingness,
No?
but it is nothingness. It's not no existence, but it isn't existence. It's the potential of life, but it's not manifest life. It's the karmic influence that lasts forever, but at the same time, it's not being manifest in a karmic way, in a substantial way. Do you understand?
It's what happened before the Big Bang. And before
Exactly. It's what happened before the Big Bang. It's what happens when in between lifetimes. It's the repository of all things when they're not in a manifest state. When we talk about the threefold world, why don't we just talk about the universe?
So the total is life.
Yeah, the key is that life extends beyond even the realm of that can be seen and which exists. Everything recedes into the state of non-substantiality and then gives rise again from the state of non-substantiality. And the period of time that one or anything dwells in the state of non-substantiality is dependent upon karma. Karma, cause and effect. Okay, that's why I'm saying it's a repository of storage. It's an influence. It's an influence storage facility. We're influences until we manifest those influences. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. They're not substantial until they become substantial, but they still exist. That's why we have this thing of temporary existence and non-substantiality in the middle way. When we talk about the middle way, we're saying it is partly non-substantial. It's not just the things that we can see in the phenomenal realm. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. We talked about the threefold world. What are they? The world of desire, the world of form, and the world of formlessness. Okay? Everybody with me? Mm-hmm. Okay, so
what the scientist wants to know now is about that.
Yeah, they're trying to figure out what's making that quark go in and out of substantiality. They now know that actually occurs in the phenomenal realm. This is no longer theoretical. We see subatomic particles go from being there to disappearing to being there. That is a reality of physics now. That's not an opinion anymore. All right?
And the black energy.
Right. So Eagle Peak. Consider Eagle Peak as this state of non-substantiality, but the state of non-substantiality in which Buddhas dwell. Do understand that. Okay? It's when I say there's transmigration through difference in limitations, or transmigration between change and advance, and then I say transmigration in the realm of Buddhahood. I'm talking now about transmigration in the realm of Buddhahood. That's what I'm referring to. Do you understand? But this is all the process of transmigration. This is the karmic result of how you transmigrate. Everything transmigrates, even specks of dust and particles and whatever, anything that's in a star, it all transmigrates. Everything transmigrates. Do you understand? Okay, so now he goes on to say to Nanjo's widow, or pardon me, to Shichiro Shoji's widow, Nanjo's mom. He says, the men with whom you have exchanged marriage vows over the course of all your previous lifetimes must outnumber even the grains of sand in the ocean. Your vows this time, however, were ones made with your true husband. The reason is that it was due to his encouragement that you became a practitioner of the Lotus Sutra. Thus you should revere him as a Buddha. When he was alive, he was a Buddha in life, and now he is a Buddha in death. He is a Buddha in both life and death. This is what is meant by the most important doctrine called attaining Buddhahood in one's present form. The fourth volume of the Lotus Sutra states, if one can uphold the sutra, one will be upholding the Buddha's body. Okay, so does everybody understand the significance of that? Okay, he says, you made your vows, you should revere him as a Buddha, because he was a Buddha. Okay, he was my disciple. He chanted the Daimoku of the Lotus Sutra, Nam-myoho Renge-kyo. He maintained his faith to the last moment of his life. I want you to understand that there's no reason for you to worry about his well-being. There's nothing to lament the fact that he's dead and that he's gone and that you miss him. We understand. I miss him. Okay? But that doesn't change the fact that as he dwells in the karmic existence of non-substantiality, he dwells there as the Buddha, just as he dwelled in this existence of temporary existence as the Buddha. Do you understand? That's what he's saying to her. He's saying, don't worry about it. He was the Buddha in life. Because of that, he entered Buddha in the realm of birth and death of Buddhahood. He is the Buddha in death. He is in the state of non-substantiality in which Buddhas dwell, right?
Right.
Okay, so he's saying, if one can uphold this sutra, one will be upholding the Buddha's body. If one can uphold the sutra in this regard, if one can uphold Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, because we're in the 5th half millennium, right?
Yeah.
We're no longer in the former or the middle day. So when he talks about this, is he talking about the 28th chapter of Lotus Sutra? No, he's referring to the fact that all of those teachings have now morphed over into the teaching of Nam-myoho Renge-kyo and the Buddhism of sowing. So now, if you uphold the Buddha's body, you're upholding Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, the teaching of all the Buddhas throughout the 3 existences, the source of the Buddhahood of all Buddhas throughout the 3 existences. Do you understand? Okay, so he's saying, neither the Pure Land, continuing it. Everybody's with me so far, right?
Yeah.
This is all clear? What he's saying to this woman so that she can understand it. He's saying, neither the Pure Land nor hell exists outside oneself. Both lie only within one's own heart. So what's he saying? If you're worried about what's happened to your dead husband, understand there's no location that would either be heaven or hell that he might have gone to. Okay? Please, if you're worried about what happened to him, don't worry about good or bad locations, because there's not a location that he went to. He's in the non-substantial state of Buddhahood. Do you understand? So he's saying, neither the Pure Land. What's the Pure Land? The Buddha Land, Amityville, where only Buddhas exist. The best place you can go. There's nothing bad there. You might as well call it heaven from a Christian or a Muslim standpoint, right? He's saying, neither that place nor hell. And he talks about the 8 cold hells and all this other stuff. None of that, in actuality, exists outside of one's own heart, one's self. They both exist only within your own heart, because they're both expressed only by your actions. It's what you do that's reflecting the moment. It's what you've done that reflects this. Do you understand? Okay, so he's saying, awaken to this fact. All you got to do is be awakened to this fact. Now, what are you called? Buddha. That's enlightenment. To perceive that truth, that's the only truth you need to understand. That is the truth of life. All right? Awaken to this, one is called the Buddha, that there is no hell and there is no heaven. Deluded about it, thinking that that's something that you have to worry or aspire for, one's called an ordinary person, because you don't understand the truth. The Lotus Sutra reveals this truth. And one who embraces the Lotus Sutra will realize, that hell is itself the land of tranquil light. Hell is itself heaven. Now that sounds like a paradox, right? Now how could that be? Those are two antithetical realities. So how could that be?
two sides of the same,
Same coin, because it's your momentary state of existence that experiences that hell or heaven. It's not a fixed state. Okay? That's why there are 3,000 realms in a single moment of life. All right? So he says, even if one were to practice the provisional teachings for innumerable millions of years, if one should turn away from the Lotus Sutra, it would simply always be hell. Why can he say that? Even if one were to practice the provisional teachings for immeasurable millions of years, if one should turn away from the Lotus Sutra, it would simply always be hell. Why can he say that? He said, and I did not make this assertion. It was decided by Shakyamuni, many treasures, and the emanation Buddhism of the 10 directions, because he's quoting from the Lotus Sutra. But he's saying, why from the Lotus Sutra? Is this the case? I'll read it one more time. Even if one were to practice the provisional teachings for immeasurable millions of years, if one should turn away from the Lotus Sutra, it would simply always be hell.
Because he did not practice the correct teaching.
Right, and the correct teaching is the only teaching that qualifies that there is no hell or heaven outside of yourself. So subsequently, you would never be able to find heaven in hell in the absence of the Lotus Sutra. There is no teaching that shows you hell and heaven are the same thing other than the Lotus Sutra. Yes. Okay? So you could use those teachings for 1,000,000 years. They'd never lead you to the truth that it's you. It's not anything outside of you. It's not a created existence. It's not a punishment or a reward. It's what your life leads your life onto in the next moment of your life. It's all about you, not about anybody else. Don't blame anybody else, even when it seems like it's everybody else. That's delusion. The teaching is what's supposed... Why do we study this? Because we're going to get to a state where we remember this all the time. We constantly relax as the Buddha. Shit on my shoe and I just smile because I know it's my karma. No. We study the teaching so that the truth is there, even if it's in the theoretical state. From the theoretical state, we know to get in front of the Gohonzon, God damn it, I know it's all about me. I don't really feel or believe that in this moment, but I know that's the truth, so I'm going to go chant. And then my life condition changes, and then it's not a theoretical construct.
Right.
Now, oh yeah, all that shit that was pissing me off that I was carrying around an attitude, it's gone. It's no longer there. Did anything really change other than my mind? No. And this is the whole point. This is how we attain Buddhahood in our present form. Yes. Without changing anything about ourselves. It's realizing there's nothing to change other than get rid of the shit and accept the truth. All right? So he continues. He says, even if one were to practice the provisional teachings for immeasurable millions of years, if one should turn away from the Lotus Sutra, it would simply be hell. I did not make this assertion. It was decided by Shakyamuni Buddha, many treasures, and the emanation Buddhas of the 10 directions. To practice the provisional teachings is to be like a person scorched by fire who goes deeper into the flames, or like a drowning person sinking farther toward the bottom of the depths because they're not getting closer to the truth. They're staying as far away as they can. For those who fail to embrace the Lotus Sutra are like the persons going into fire or water. Those who rely on such evil teachers as Honen, Kobo, and other slanders of the Lotus Sutra and believe in the Amida or Mahayavachana Sutra are going further and further into the fire or deeper and deeper into the depths of the water. How can they possibly escape agony? They cannot, according to the teaching that they cannot. There's no escape from hell in the teaching that they're embracing, frankly. There's no way out. They don't have an exit from hell in their teaching. Only the Lotus Sutra provides that wisdom to perceive where that invisible exit is. And it's in the truth of life. They will doubtless fall into the fiery pits of of the hell of repeated rebirth for torture, the hell of black cords and the hell of incessant suffering, or sink into the icy depths of the hell of the crimson lotus and the hell of the great crimson lotus. You can go, there are whole Go shows on this that will explain all of this provisional teaching on all the 8 cold hells and the 16. There's cold hells, hot hells, every kind of hell. But all of those hells are expedient means. Understand that, because he's already qualified. Those hells don't really exist. All of hell and all of heaven exists in your life, period. Zero. Zip, nada. That's where it ends. It ends when you die. It begins again when you remanifest. That's the only time you have the ability to change or experience your karma in a fashion that is meaningful to this conversation. Okay? So, because if you're in a state of non-substantiality, there's nothing you can do to change the state, your primary state that you went into non-substantiality. So if you went into non-substantiality as a Buddha, you're going to be in a Buddha state the whole time you're in non-substantiality. You're going to be able to get out of non-substantiality when you want to, because you already perceive the ability that you have to change and formulate your own karma. Okay, it says, the second volume of the Lotus Sutra, the top of 457, the second volume of the Lotus Sutra reads, when his life comes to an end, he will enter the avicii, be confined there for a whole kalpa, and when the kalpa ends, be born there again. He will keep repeating this cycle for a countless number of kalpas. Okay, so what does that say, though? Isn't that in conflict with what he just said here? Think it through. So what is he really saying? Let me read it again. The second volume of the Lotus Sutra, okay, second volume, reads, when his life comes to an end, he will enter the avicii hell, be confined there for a whole kalpa, and when the kalpa ends, be born there again. He will keep repeating this cycle for a countless number of kalpas. This is so cool because it's definitely deep shit. I hope you're catching what he's saying here. He just said one thing to the lay nun. Then he quotes the Lotus Sutra saying something else. And they are in complete conflict with one another. Are you catching that fact? What did he say to the lay nun? I just said it a minute ago. Neither the Pure Land nor hell exists outside oneself. Mm-hmm. And then he's talking about they're going to fall into the avicii hell like it's a place that exists as a hell. Yes. This is the point. It reads like it's a location. Mm-hmm. It's really a life condition. Mm-hmm. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. Because what is to fall into the avicii hell and to repeat that for countless and then to be born there again? It's to be born into the life state of differences and limitations. Mm-hmm. Do you understand? To never meet the correct teaching. To never meet the correct teacher. To always have your life based on bullshit that's not real. To always have your life based on illusion, delusion, and unhappiness you have no control over. To always be in a state of want for things that will never gain the happiness that you think that they will. Do you understand? So he's saying here, the second volume of the Lotus Sutra reads, when his life comes to an end, he will enter the avicii hell, be confined there for a whole kalpa, and when the kalpa ends, be born again, there again. He will keep repeating this cycle for a countless number of kalpas. That's an immeasurable amount of time. Your late husband, continuing, has escaped such agonies. Because why? Because when he's reborn, he will be able to see the Buddhas again. Mm-hmm. Okay? Those people in the avicii hell, they're saying they can never see Buddhas. They never perceive Buddhahood. It's not that they're not capable or that they don't have the Buddha nature. They do have the Buddha nature, but they can never be awakened to it because they've covered themselves up with delusion. Do you understand? He says, your late husband has escaped such agonies. He's died in the realm of Buddhahood. He's going to be born in the realm of Buddhahood. He's going to meet me again. We're going to be hanging in the land of Eagle Peak, just like you all will. That's the life state of those in the state of non-substantiality that have now entered the realm of birth and death in the realm of Buddhahood. Do you understand? Yes. Okay, so he's saying, for he was a lay supporter of Nichiren. He doesn't say because he read the Lotus Sutra. This is about Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Yes. Your late husband has escaped such agonies, for he was a lay supporter of Nichiren, the votary of the Lotus Sutra, in the latter day of the law, when the true teaching is revealed. not the theoretical teaching. The sutra reads, if someone should enter a great fire, the fire could not burn him. If one were washed away by a great flood and called upon his name, one would immediately find oneself in a shallow place. This is all talking about perceiver of the world sound, but it's in the Lotus Sutra talking about the truth of those that beseech the Buddha for salvation. It also reads, the good fortune you gained thereby cannot be burned by fire or washed away by water. How reassuring, how reassuring. After all, even if one looks for hell in some faraway place, the iron rods of the wardens of hell and the accusing cries of the demon guards do not exist apart from one. Do you understand what he just said? He's going to now explain it. You guys didn't read this Go Show before you got here, did you? Luckily, I've read this Go Show many times. The teaching, so this is, read this because he's going to say this teaching is of prime importance in the next sentence. So let me back up again. Listen to the whole thing. So he's just already qualified that your husband doesn't have to worry about any of that stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And that all the fortune that he's created can never ever be lost, right? Mm-hmm. He says, after all, even if one looks for hell, are you in pain?
No.
After all, even if one looks for hell in some faraway place, the iron rods of the wardens of hell and the accusing cries of the demon guards do not exist apart from one. This teaching is of prime importance, but I will impart it to you just as Bodhisattva Manjushri explained the secret teaching of the attainment of Buddhahood in one's present form to the Dragon King's daughter in the 8th chapter, okay? And how fast did he do that? So fast that we didn't get to hear him talk about it. Boom, boom, boom. He not does the sutra just says he expressed it to her. The secret teaching. And then she attained Buddhahood in her present form upon hearing that secret teaching. What is that secret teaching in the latter day of the law? Nam-myoho Renge-kyo, baby. You better believe it. After hearing it, strive even more earnestly in faith. So he's saying to Shijo Kingo's mom, now I'm going to tell you some heavy stuff. Don't doubt it. Embrace it. And strive even more so once I reveal it to you now. One who, on hearing the teachings of the Lotus Sutra, makes even greater efforts in faith is a true seeker of the way. So what he's basically saying is that what I'm about to tell you, you may not get the full effect from hearing it the first time. But I want you to think about it. I want you to chant about it. I want you to continue to pursue this quest for clarity. Okay? I've been chanting at least 20 years longer than any of you. All right? So what is the thing that separates me and you other than the amount of time, my quest for clarity, my continued devotion to the law? It doesn't mean I'm going to be that way I'm going to die and you're going to have a chance to continue on. All right? But the point is that my deepening of the indigo has already been dipped a lot. Okay? And what I'm encouraging you guys is to get after the dipping. Okay? And that's what the Daishonin is saying to Toki Jonin's mother. He's saying, one who, on hearing the teachings of the Lotus Sutra, makes even greater efforts in faith, is a true seeker of the way. In other words, hearing it is not enough. You want to understand it. You want to perceive it to the ability to the point that you have the ability to teach it correctly. Tentai states, from the indigo an even deeper blue. This passage means that if one dyes something repeatedly in indigo, it becomes even bluer than the indigo leaves. And everybody understands that, right? He says, the Lotus Sutra is like the indigo, and the strength of one's practice is like the deepening blue. The strength of one's practice to continually endeavor to the last moment of your life to grow and to grow and to grow and to become the Buddha and to become the mentor. Do you understand? The correct teacher. He says the two characters for hell. And this is where he goes into all this spooky shit in the Lotus Sutra about the wardens of hell and all that stuff and the rods and all this shit. Listen to what he says. The two characters for hell can be interpreted to mean digging a hole in the ground. Can anyone avoid having a hole dug for them when they die? This is what is called hell. The flames that burn one's body when you're cremated are the fires of the hell of incessant suffering. One's wife, children, and relatives vying for position around one's body as they move toward the grave are the wardens and demon guards of hell. The plaintive cries of one's family are the voices of the guards and wardens of hell. So whenever you read any of these provisional ghost, these ghost shows where he's talking about wardens of hell, understand that he's not talking about literal dudes that guard a place called hell. One's 2.5 foot long walking stick is the iron rod of torture in hell. The horses and oxen that carry one's body are the horse-headed and ox-headed demons, and the grave is the great citadel of the hell of incessant suffering. The Avicii hell is, okay? The 84,000 earthly desires are 84,000 cauldrons in hell. One's body leaves home for the mountain of death, while the river beside which one's filial children stand in grief is the river of the three crossing. It is utterly useless to look for hell anywhere else. Okay? So if you want to worry about your next life and not having bad things happen, you should resolve to change this life, because this is where you experience it all. There's no place you're going to go for that punishment. You're going to live it as a life of punishment, okay, of deprivation from the truth. That is the ultimate punishment, all right? Those who embrace the Lotus Sutra, however, can turn all of this around. Hell becomes the land of tranquil light. The burning fires of agony become the torch of the wisdom of a thus come one of the reward body. The dead person becomes a thus come one of the Dharma body. In the fiery inferno, the room of great pity and compassion, where a thus come one of the manifested body abides. In other words, you come back into the Sahe world for the sake of others. Moreover, the walking stick becomes the walking stick of the true aspect, or the mystic law. The river of the three crossings becomes the ocean of the sufferings of birth and death, or nirvana. And the mountain of death becomes the towering peak of earthly desires, or enlightenment. What's he talking about with all these things? Non-duality, non-duality, non-duality. He says the flip, the flip, the flip, the flip. Do you understand what he just said? He says, however, those who embrace the Lotus Sutra can turn all this around. Hell becomes the land of the flip. They're not two different things. The flip occurs. Hell becomes the land of the burning fires of agony become. They were never two different things. All right? The torch of the thus comes one of the reward body. The dead person becomes the thus come one of the Dharma body. The dead person becomes the spiritual aspect of continuation. Do you understand? And the fiery inferno, the room of great pity and compassion. Whereas the thus come one of the manifested body, when we come back into the Sahe world as Buddhas, we come back into this world of suffering and trial and so forth. We do it with compassion for others. All right, so everybody's with me here, right? Mm-hmm. He says, please think of it this way, both attaining, he says, pardon me. Please think of it in this way, both attaining Buddhahood in one's present form and opening the door of Buddha's wisdom refer to realizing this and to awakening to it. Let me go back. Moreover, let me go back to the whole thing, pardon me. Mm-hmm. Those who embrace the Lotus Sutra, however, can turn all this around. Hell becomes the land of tranquil light. The burning fires of agony become the torch of the wisdom of a thus come one of the reward body. The dead person becomes a thus come one of the Dharma body. And the fiery inferno, the room of great pity and compassion, where the thus come one of the manifested body resides. Moreover, the walking stick becomes the walking stick of the true aspect of the mystic law. The river of three crossings becomes the ocean of the sufferings of birth and death, or nirvana, and the mountain of death becomes the towering peak of earthly desires, or enlightenment. Please think of it in this way, both attaining Buddhahood in one's present form and opening the door of Buddha wisdom refer to realizing this and to awakening to it while you're still in a manifest state. That's what allows you birth and death into the realm of Buddhahood. You have to have attained Buddhahood in your present form before you can re-enter the realm of non-substantiality in the realm of Buddhahood. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. Okay. So, Devadatas changing the Avicii hell into the blissful land of tranquil light, and the Dragon King's daughter attaining Buddhahood without changing her form were nothing other than this. It is because of the Lotus Sutra. It is because the Lotus Sutra saves those who oppose it as well as those who follow it. This is the blessing of the single character Myo, or mystic. Mm-hmm. Absolute Myo, not comparative Myo. Understand? Bodhisattva Nagarjuna had stated, the Lotus Sutra is like a great physician who can change poison into medicine. Like that. Flip side, flip it, flip it, flip it. You're not changing something. It's not evolving into something different. Manifest the true aspect rather than the diluted aspect is what he's saying. Mm-hmm. That's changing the poison into medicine. The great teacher Myolo stated, how can one seek the land of eternally tranquil light anywhere apart from Buddha Gaya? Okay, and what's Buddha Gaya? Eagle Peak. Okay? This Sahe world does not exist anywhere outside the land of eternally tranquil light. This Sahe world, this realm of manifest existence, does not exist anywhere outside the land of eternally tranquil light, outside the Buddha land. He also said, the true aspect invariably manifests in all phenomena, and all phenomena invariably manifest in the 10 factors. The 10 factors invariably manifest in the 10 worlds, and the 10 worlds invariably manifest in life and its environment. Okay, and that's Myolo from the Diamond Scalpel. The Lotus Sutra reads, the true aspect of all phenomena can only be understood as shared between Buddhas. Get it? Mm-hmm. This reality consists of the appearance, nature, and their consistency from beginning to end. Get it? Mm-hmm. The lifespan chapter states it has been immeasurable, boundless, hundreds, thousands, 10,000s, millions of nayutas of kalpas since I in fact attained Buddhahood. In this passage, I refers to all beings in the 10 worlds, because all beings in the 10 worlds are inherently Buddhas. They dwell in the Pure Land. Get it? Mm-hmm. And the Pure Land is the Sahe world, right? Mm-hmm. But dependent upon whether or not you have the fortune to perceive the truth. Mm-hmm. All right? The Expedient Means chapter reads, these phenomena are part of an abiding law. Now, what's that mean? These phenomena are part of an abiding law. What does that mean? An unchanging law. All right? Mm-hmm. And the characteristics of the world are constantly abiding, are constantly unchanging. The characteristics don't change. The truth underlying all phenomena doesn't change. Okay? Since it is the way of the world that birth and death are eternally unchanging characteristics of life in the 3 existences of past, present, and future, there is no need to grieve or to be surprised. The single word characteristic represents to the 8 characteristics or phases of the Buddha's existence. Okay? You guys don't know that, and I won't get into it. It's cool, but it's not necessary for you to know it. The single word characteristic represents the 8 characteristics or phases of the Buddha's existence. Even these 8 phases do not transcend the 2 words of birth and death. All right? To be enlightened in this way is to be referred to as the attainment of Buddhahood in one's present form by the votaries of the Lotus Sutra. To understand this underlying principle is to be the Buddha in your present form. Since your deceased husband was a votary of the Sutra, he doubtless attained Buddhahood just as he was. You need not grieve so much over his passing. On the other hand, to grieve is only natural for ordinary people. However, even sages are sometimes sad. Could the lamenting of all the great enlightened disciples of Shakyamuni Buddha at his passing have been meant to show the behavior of ordinary people? You should by all means perform as much good as you possibly can for the sake of your deceased husband. The words of a wise man of old also teach you that you should base your mind on the ninth consciousness, and carry out your practice on the 6 consciousnesses. Now, what's it say? The words of a wise man of old also teach you should base your mind on the 9th consciousness. Base your mind on Nam Myoho Renge Kyo. Base your mind on the true reality that there is no difference in anything ever. Everything starts with the original state, which has no beginning. Okay? And carry out your practice on the 6th consciousness, because that's your temporary existence, right? Mm-hmm. That's your temporary gathering of the 5 components, and the mind allows you to perceive the truth that you can by being a temporary gathering of the 5 components. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. How reasonable it is, too. In this letter, I have written my long-cherished teachings. Pretty much in a nutshell, he has. Keep them deep within your heart. Respectfully, Nichiren. Thank you.
Thank you.